inflammation has become a quite frightening buzzword.
You're not ugly, you're just inflamed.
Here are 5 hidden signs that your body is inflamed and you need to act now.
Well, I gotta go. They just let me know that I could pick up my Mercedes.
Some go as far as to claim that it is the cause of all diseases. But most of you are probably not familiar with what inflammation exactly is. Inflammation is an innate part of our immune system, and our body cannot heal itself without inflammation. In the case of acute inflammation, there is damage being done to the cells in our body, which results in the release of the so-called pro-inflammatory signals, which then lead to different types of immunity cells, such as the white blood cells, coming in and playing their role in the repair, the elimination of damaged cells, and the elimination of the threat at hand. If this process is successful, these signals are no longer released. If this process keeps on going, that would then lead to chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation has been associated with a wide variety of chronic diseases, such as type 2 diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. Huge disclaimer: to claim that inflammation is the root cause of all of these chronic diseases is quite an extreme statement. Inflammation cannot be identified to be the only reason for the development of these conditions. However, it does always accompany the chronic illnesses. Inflammation can be a consequence of a variety of factors. Those can be environmental pollutants, having an autoimmune disorder, chronic infections, psychological stress, and of course lifestyle factors such as a lack of sufficient physical activity or a poor diet. Some common signs of inflammation, if you do not have a pre-existing chronic condition, could be skin problems such as rashes or excessive acne, digestive problems, swelling, muscle weakness, fatigue, and getting sick more frequently. You can see now how a lot of people can attribute inflammation to be the cause of these negative symptoms. Most people possess at least one of those that I just listed. In this video, we're going to address the diet portion of the problem. By the end of this video, you will have a clearer understanding of how you can structure your own anti-inflammatory diet. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Clementina, and for those of you who are new here, I do nutrition and fitness, wellness content here on YouTube. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in nutrition sciences and with a master's degree in food chemistry. In order to explain the diet, I will be going over the 3 major micronutrients: fats, proteins, and carbs, with some emphasis on specific compounds, especially when I'm talking about the carbohydrates. Starting off with the fat sources in your diet. For you to understand what I'm about to explain, you need to be a little bit familiar with the chemistry of fat. Fats consist of fatty acids. Fatty acids can be saturated, monounsaturated, or polyunsaturated. A saturated fatty acid would have 0 double bonds, while a monounsaturated fat would have only 1, and the polyunsaturated fats have multiple double bonds. Saturated fats are also not all equal, so to make one statement about them would just be not scientifically correct. Saturated fatty acids can be divided in 3 groups. We have long-chain saturated fatty acids, medium-chain, and short-chain saturated fatty acids. Out of the 3 groups, the long-chain saturated fatty acids have been proven to have some negative implications regarding to inflammation. Additionally, long-chain fatty acids have also been shown to have an impact on the neurons that are present in your hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is connected to the regulation and response to alteration in levels of your satiety hormones such as leptin, ghrelin, but also insulin and GLP-1. These effects have been observed after the ingestion of also just one meal high in these long saturated fatty acids. If you are chronically consuming these foods, you would not be able to go over into this resolution phase of the inflammation process, which could make it a chronic condition. Long-chain saturated fatty acids are any fatty acid that is saturated with a carbon chain that is above 14 carbons in length. All fats both plant-based and animal-based fats are a combination of different types of fatty acids, but I'll be showing you the ones that are highest in these. Here we have two fats of animal origin, beef fat that has been gaining more and more attention lately, along with butter. As you can see, the main fatty acids in both beef fats and butter are long chain, which I find very interesting in relation to the recent trends. On the topic of plant fats, we have palm oil and coconut oil as the main sources. Although in palm oil the percentage is somewhat higher, the content of total saturated fatty acids in coconut oil is double the amount of those in palm oil. Therefore, although coconut oil is promoted as being healthier and palm oil has been practically cancelled, you can see that they do not differ that much in fatty acid composition. Moving on to medium and short chain fatty acids, the same has not been observed for those. Medium chain saturated fatty acids are more easily absorbed in the body compared to the long chain ones and are more rapidly oxidized in the liver. For the short chain fatty acids, there have been even some positive effects observed. They are not contained in large amounts and are mainly generated in your guts when your microbiome ferments certain compounds. Moving on to unsaturated fatty acids. Monounsaturated fatty acids are mainly omega-9 fatty acids such as oleic acid, which is largely present in olive oil. There is no really controversial evidence around them. Higher consumption of olive oil can reduce inflammation in your body and can even partially neutralize the negative effects of long-chain saturated fats. The more controversial ones here are the polyunsaturated fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids especially. The main hypothesis here is that a higher consumption of omega-6 fatty acids, particularly linoleic acids, can lead to a higher conversion in the body to arachidonic acids, which then leads to an increase in inflammatory markers. Contradicting the popularity that this topic has been gaining, scientific evidence does not conclude that this is 100% true, especially since very negligible amounts of the linoleic acid that you ingest is actually converted to arachidonic acid. The researchers here also suggested that the complexity of the results might be due to some accompanying anti-inflammatory influences of the seed oils and omega-6 fatty acids in general. When talking about omega-3 fatty acids, the alpha-linolenic acid is the main omega-3 fatty acid that you can consume with your diet. It leads to the production of the EPA and DHA, which are the ones in your body that lead to the release of anti-inflammatory compounds. Omega-6 fatty acids are mainly present in seed oils such as rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, and so on. The main sources of omega-3 fatty acids are fish, also flaxseed oil to some extent, and seafood. You also need to consider the type of oil that you're choosing for the cooking method, but I go more into the depth in my seed oils video. The last group of fats to cover here are trans fats. They are far less controversial than the rest that I just discussed, since there are multiple studies that have been proving over the years that a high intake of trans fats can result in a pro-inflammatory response. This is due to their toxicity to the human cells. Trans fats are largely contained in hydrogenated fats such as margarine. They are also present in highly processed products that contain these types of fats, such as baked goods like crackers, cookies, and so on. You do not need to worry about the naturally occurring trans fats as much, since they occur in much lower concentrations. However, if you're interested, those would be meats and dairy products from ruminant animals such as cows, goats, and sheep. The case with protein is a bit more complex, since there are both good and bad sides when it comes to protein sources. The good compounds are the so-called bioactive peptides that are found in a wide variety of sources, mostly in dairy products, but also in meat, fish, and eggs. These compounds have been found to have some positive implications regarding inflammation. On the other hand, we have different amino acids such as L-carnitine, choline, and lecithin, which are are present in high concentrations in red meats, eggs, and mushrooms. These amino acids could lead to the generation of more 3-methylamine in your gut, and 3-methylamine has been linked to an increased inflammatory response. Methylamine, which is also a precursor of 3-methylamine, is also contained in seafoods, not as much in fresh fish. So how do you go about your protein sources then? Dairy does not have as much as of a negative reputation that I thought it would have here. On the other hand, seafoods seems to be on the negative side, since it could contain more methylamine. Red meat, since it has higher concentrations of amino acids in general, is also one thing to not be consuming daily if you want to lower the production of 3-methylamine in your body. Since eggs have less protein per 100 gram, along with mushrooms and other sources, you could be worrying about those definitely less, since they would have lower concentrations of the precursors of the inflammation increasing compound. You could also think about these foods as them kind of neutralizing themselves, since they combine both good and bad influences on your inflammatory responses. When talking about carbohydrates, we definitely have a lot more to uncover. I talk a lot about fiber on this channel just because it is really underrated. On the topic of inflammation, it has been shown to decrease the levels of C-reactive proteins, which are one of the main inflammation markers. Researchers suggest that there are a lot of ways that high fiber foods could be positively impacting your inflammatory status. The first one is related to the way that fiber is metabolized in your gut. Fiber is non-digestible, therefore your body does not possess enzymes to break it down, and it reaches your gut where it is metabolized by your gut microbiome. While it is being metabolized, your gut microbiome generates these short-chain fatty acids that I previously mentioned, and these fatty acids have been associated to lead to an improvement in your metabolic status. High fiber foods in general contain a lot of compounds could be positively impacting your metabolic health, such as antioxidants and polyphenols. Fiber is contained only in plant sources, but it is a wide variety. They are contained in larger amounts in grains, so that would be whole grain bread, in oats, chia seeds, everything from the beans and legumes group, white beans and kidney beans, lentils especially being higher on the list. Fruits and vegetables are also great sources of fiber, with high fiber fruits being apples, kiwis, and pears. If you are interested in some high fiber meals, I have some in my previous video about gut health right here. On the other side, we have refined carbs. Refined carbs are contained in highly processed products containing large amounts of carbohydrates. They have been refined to eliminate some compounds that usually negatively influence the stability of the product, such as germs. Because of this, also a lot of the nutrients are no longer present. Refined carbs have been positively associated with a large number of metabolic problems. A lot of that evidence is also related to the fact that a high consumption of refined carbs often leads to obesity, and obesity is accompanied by an increased inflammatory status. However, some studies suggest that consumption of refined carbs can increase inflammation independently from the accumulation of fat tissue, so the obesity factor. Refined carbs would be sweet treats, think high sugar snacks such as cookies, of course not only sugary foods, that applies to chips, crackers, and the salty group as well. Another group that has been shown to lead to increased inflammation are sweetened beverages, so drinks with added sugars to them. All of these effects have not been observed for free sugars. When I say free sugars, I mean those that are found naturally occurring in fruits. Lastly, we have one more group that is contained in sources of carbohydrates, and those are dietary polyphenols. Polyphenols are a large group of compounds that are contained in a variety of plant foods. Some of them are flavones, which are present in citrus fruits, also anthocyanins, which are contained in all kinds of forest berries. Quercetin is another polyphenol that is found in apples and onions, and also the epigallocatechin, which is contained in green tea. All of these compounds have been shown to have multiple positive influences on human health. Some of the studies attribute their positive effects to their antioxidative properties, while others suggest that consumption of these compounds might benefit your immune system functions. Another proposed mechanism would be their effects on the gut microbiome. Dietary polyphenols are not completely absorbed. A large proportion of them reaches your gut in its innate form, and there they are metabolized by your gut microbiome, which promotes the diversity and the ratio of beneficial to harmful bacteria. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that now you have gained some clarity on what inflammation is and how can you positively influence your inflammatory status through your diet. Let me know down in the comments below if you would like me to do a video on a specific topic next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, I have my Fiverr link down below for my nutrition gig on Fiverr. I previously mentioned this, but I have a gig for creating meal plans on Fiverr since I am a nutritionist. Only disclaimer, if you have a severe health condition such as kidney disease, fatty liver disease and so on, I am not authorized to do that. Then you would have to turn to an actual clinical nutritionist or registered dietitian for advice. However, if your goal is to lose weight, improve your general well-being, gain muscle, something of the sort, then you can definitely check that out. Thank you again very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.